I think they've lost their place in society because they've been convinced that they need to capitulate to the government based on Romans. But that was not to a government that was corrupt. Jesus never bowed. Daniel never bowed. David never bowed. Throughout history and biblical teaching, those great leaders that stood for our rights never bowed. So I encourage each one of you, unless you're bowing to God, don't take a knee. Don't fall into the political propaganda that's going around right now for certain groups who want to force everybody to take a knee to their tyranny. We believe that all lives are precious. All lives matter. So that's the little bit of preaching I'm going to do today, because a lot of people don't think about why it is that the foundation of this nation matters and what it is that the government is trying to do. They told us that we're no longer a Christian nation. They said we're a secular nation. And I've said that's one small step away from tyranny. And proof of that is when Justin Trudeau got in, he said we're no longer a Christian nation or a secular nation. We're a post-national state with no core identity. But that's an impossibility, isn't it? How can you have a country with no identity? So they're filling it up, whether we like it or not, and that's with communism. So to you who believe or don't believe, I'm trying to get the message out that what do you want to live under? Tyranny or a country based on Christian nations that give you the right to be here to assemble to the freedom of speech? Just something to think about. In defense of these freedoms, in defense of these freedoms, Action for Canada made a decision that we're going to take on the BC government, the federal government, these health officers, in defense of your rights and freedoms, in defense of my rights and freedoms that are already guaranteed under the Charter. And I want to read you something that some of you may not know, but the preamble to the Emergency Act verifies this. As whereas the Governor and Council, in taking such special temporary measures, would be subject to the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms and the Canadian Bill of Rights, and must have regard to the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, particularly with respect to those fundamental rights that are not to be limited or abridged, even in a national emergency. Let that sink in for a minute. People are being quarantined. They're believing that they need to stand 6 feet apart. They believe they need to wear a mask, which is a sign of deep oppression. They want to see who's going to follow and who's not. You have the right to breathe freely. The right under the Charter of Rights and the Bill of Rights, the right of the individual to life, liberty, security of the person. If you're a business owner, we need you to stand up like the grassroots are standing up for you. We need you to understand you have a right to be in business and open your door freely. With a business license, however, you do not have the right to discriminate against people who choose not to wear a mask and live in their freedom, their God-given rights and freedoms in this country. As far as our pastors are concerned as well, we need you to stand up. We need the pastors to lead this charge as they have. Look at what's going on in China. Who's the ones on the front line there? It's the pastors who are worried about going to jail. So let's encourage our pastors, get behind them and say, you're going to have to answer to a far greater calling after this life than staying in your office and keeping it safe. Let's talk about who everybody thinks that they're helping by wearing a mask. The media and the government have us hyper-focused on 0.03% of the population. Oh my goodness, you need to be worried about the elderly and the immune deficient. How insulting. We worry about them every year and we take the necessary precautions. But how about we shift the focus that the media, like a cult, has everybody in this country following, and let's focus on the 99.7 7%. Let's focus on the millions of Canadians who are out of work right now and don't know if they're going to be able to pay their mortgage, their rent, or feed their family. Let's focus on all the business owners, somewhere up 80 to 100,000, who have been forced to permanently close their doors. This is corruption at the highest level. Let's talk about our elderly who are being cruelly isolated, who would rather spend time with their family in their last days. They're actually dying from loneliness, not from COVID. This is extreme abuse. And let's talk about our kids who are being forced to wear masks when they have minimal risk of getting COVID and being indoctrinated into the thought and abused psychologically to think that they could kill a grandparent. Let's put a stop to this, people. Let's get the message out. One of the actions that Action for Canada is taking, I've talked about it before, is our business campaign, reaching out to businesses. We have brought resources today, so we encourage you to pick some of these up. And we need more and more volunteers. We're actually going to go national with this campaign because we've had people in other provinces request it. So we're going in and we're informing businesses of their rights. We're also informing them of their duties. And as well, while we're doing this, we have Wednesday nights a volunteer meeting, and we equip our volunteers to be able to respond to questions, but also it's an empowering them. Because if you know your rights when you walk into any business, then you are modeling your freedom, and that's what we have. These are freedom that we have. The government can't take them away. We've been relinquishing them. Right? They don't have a right to put these orders in place, especially when they have no evidence to support what it is that they are doing. This is tyranny. So we invite you to come on over and grab some of those. That's a bit of the business out of the way. And the other thing is as well, that we're taking this legal action against the government, but we need to continue to raise funds. I'm very pleased to say we're at 42%. And I was in a meeting yesterday where these rest of these funds to get to 50% is going to come in very quickly. But we still need your help, because once we get halfway there, that's 50%. And we are ready to go, Mr. Horgan, Bonnie Henry, and Adrian Dix, and anyone else supporting this. When they took an oath of office to serve us. And as Ryan said, big shout out to the Vancouver Police. I have had so many contacts with people who are struggling and suffering under the hand of these orders. Daily I'm getting emails, and I apologize for people who've emailed me. I can't even keep up with them. It's devastating, the stories that are coming in. And we need to assist these people. So even when we reach the amount of our complete retainer, I want to raise more because I want to help these people. So we'll be commencing the action very, very soon. We encourage you to continue to give. And right down here up front, if you want to make the way forward, we have this wonderful lady with the red box in her hand who is prepared to take your donations. And then I want to encourage you with a word. Because Christmas, like I say, it's not about Santa Claus, it's not about the presents under the tree. In Isaiah 9:6 it said, "For to us a child is born, to us a son is given, and the government will be on his shoulders, and he will be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, and Prince of Peace." And John 3:16 says, "For God so loved this world that he gave his only Son, that no one should perish, but anyone that believes in him would have everlasting life." And as I say, this is a Christian nation. These things mean something. And I hope that at some level you can embrace, even if you're an unbeliever today, that you can embrace what this means for you. Thank you. God bless you. God bless Canada.